Good morning, all. Welcome to another episode of the Cruise News You Can Use, starring me, myself, and I, Eric, with from the Cruising with Cheryl and Eric show. Got a bunch of news today, so let's go ahead and get started. First up on the news horizon, Princess making some changes to its pricing structure. So basically starting immediately, started a little earlier this month. They've decided to start, how can I describe it? So basically they're letting everybody know that the early booking window is your best window. So they're getting rid of last minute deals and offers. It's basically what it's coming down to. So they're basically saying, listen, we want you guys to book 6, 8, 12 months ahead of time instead of waiting until 2 weeks before or 3 weeks before a sailing, in hopes that you can get a really good deal. We're seeing, I'm at least starting to see a lot of the industry going this way, which from their perspective, makes a lot more sense to them. If they know that, the ship's at 90% capacity, a year ahead of schedule, makes their planning and their budgeting and their staffing easier, versus waiting until, 2 weeks before, 3 weeks before, and all right, crap, we still got 20% of our rooms we got to book. So let's knock the prices, down into the basement. For the consumer, yeah, not necessarily a good thing for us. Well, for those of you that like booking those last minute cruises, that's not my thing personally. I like knowing well in advance, what cruise I'm on, what ship, what time, all that stuff. I don't like taking the chance that, the 7-night Western Caribbean sailing that I really, really want, isn't going to be available, or I'm going to having to buy a suite just to get on that sailing. So, the exact details of how they're going to be doing this, they are putting a best price guarantee in place, or letting everybody know about it, because I believe they've had something along these lines for a while now. It's Elio again, yes. So basically, they will match. So if you book a room, you book a stateroom, and within 72 hours of that booking, the exact same apples to apples room, the fare, the date, all of that number of guests as you're booking, if that price, if you find that price to be lower within 72 hours, they'll automatically match it. How they're exactly going to do that is still being worked out. Might be in the form of, they'll give you the difference in onboard credit, they'll give you the difference in a future cruise credit, or they'll put it back on your credit card. They still haven't announced how those details are going to work, but I'm sure that'll be forthcoming soon. Right, Elio? Next up, unfortunately, there was an explosion on a cruise ship the other day. The Ocean Navigator, which is part of the American Queen Voyages cruise group, they had just arrived back into Portland, Maine, and there was an explosion in the engine room. One of the crew members suffered some burns on his arms and hands and was rushed to the hospital. All 128 guests on board had to be evacuated, and they had just gotten back into their home port, well, the home port at the time, and so those passengers had to evacuate without their luggage, without, they basically, they were, I don't want to say kicked off the ship, but they were quickly escorted from the ship to secure their safety. So the passengers still needed to get their their belongings, and there was they were set to depart yesterday afternoon on another, I believe it was a cruise along the New England coastline, and and there was still no word as to if they were going to be allowed to leave, how bad the damage was. They're still looking into it. So thankfully, there was only that one injury, and from what I understand, he's in stable condition. If you're not aware of who or what American Queen Voyage is, they're a U.S.-based river and ocean cruise line. They do river cruises up and down like the Mississippi and the Ohio, and they do a lot of ocean-going cruises, but they're small ship cruises that basically go along the coastline. So like Portland, Maine to Boston, and up in, or to, up, they hug the coastline. Best way I can describe it. So the SilverSea ship, Silver Spirit, unfortunately had to be towed back to its home port in Piraeus, Greece yesterday, on the 18th. Yeah, yesterday. They had some mechanical issues with an engine, and it's causing some maneuvering and propulsion issues. Now, they were on their way back to their home port, Piraeus, and so it didn't really, they weren't stuck in the middle of the ocean, dead in the water, so to speak, but they did need some help getting back to the port. They're in the process of investigating what's going on, what happened, and the upcoming 11-night sailing is still up in the air as to how that's going to happen, what's going to happen. They're hoping that they can, do the repairs while underway, even if means they have to go slower, so that they don't have to cancel that trip. They're already in the process of reworking the ports of call for that trip, because they were supposed to call on Haifa and Ashdod, Israel, and because of the the tensions in that area, they're probably going to end up canceling or reworking those ports of call anyway. So if you're on that 11-night sailing, keep your eyes out for some communication from the cruise line. Unfortunately, a spa hair treatment went wrong for a passenger on the P&O cruise ship Britannia. Now, this was back in May. Miss Adams was on a 14-night Northern European and Scandinavian itinerary, so she decided, to go to the spa, and she bought. She got 5 different rehydration products for her hair, and got the first treatment, and it changed the color of her hair. It kind of had a purplish tinge. So she ended up having to go back to the spa a couple of more times to get her naturally blonde hair back to blonde. And not really sure what products were used, not really sure what happened. There's some mention in the article that she ended up with scalp blisters. She's had to undergo several more treatments at a facility, a hairdresser, to get her hair back to normal, because it was damaged due to all the treatments. Not a whole lot more of the details have been publicized, but the one thing that was announced is that Miss Adams has booked another sailing with P&O Cruises. She's doing a Christmas sailing, so sounds to me like most likely the situation had been resolved to her liking. So yeah, I hope she's doing okay. And then last but not least, luxury cruise line Seabourn unveils a new dining venue starting in next year. So they're opening a restaurant on board called Solace. It's going to be Mediterranean inspired. The new eatery is going to be is being created by Chef Thomas Keller, and will debut on the Seabourn Quest in January of 2024. A couple of the dishes that they're already announcing are it's going to be a Bronzino dish, bistecca alla Fiorentina, and spiced lamb shank, among others. Eventually, the Encore, the Ovation, and the Sojourn all obviously seaborne vessels. We'll also have the restaurant. They'll be on those ships in spring or so of 2024. And I think that's about it for today. Hope you have a good rest of your day. Take care.